O-R-D-O-N.
86F, and this is Andy Gordon at Camp Hale. Age 19, 1943.
I was back home.
And this is winter of 1943, Camp Hale, Andy Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
I assume this is the picture that was taken during D-Series when it was minus 51 degrees.
52.
Oh, 52. You had a thermometer that went that deep is the amazing part. That's a low temperature to have a thermometer for.
The medics took the temperature and told us. And we were sleeping outdoors in sleeping bags.
I think it might be better not to know. Don't you?
Yes.
I'm going to start by having you say and spell your complete name.
Andrew Gordon, A-N-D-R-E-W, capital G-O-R-D-O-N.
And tell me the unit that you served with in the 10th Mountain Division.
Did I what?
Tell me the name of the unit that you served with in the 10th Mountain Division.
86F, 86 Regiment, Company F,
And what year did you join the 10th Mountain Division?
1943,
And what was the highest rank served?
Staff Sergeant.
Okay, very good. I'm going to start by having you talk a little bit about how you came to be in the 10th Mountain Division. What was it that attracted you to being in the 10th Mountain Division?
The fact that it was all volunteer. You had to have 3 letters of recommendation even to get into it. And the fact that it was a mountainous unit, all of this appealed to me.
Where had you been going to school before that?
Huntington School for Boys in Boston. And after the war, I went to a place called Yale. Ever heard of it?
That's 4 little letters I've heard of. Tell me a little bit about what it was like for you during training at Camp Hale. Did you perceive it as difficult?
No, it was it was very arduous physically. We had to get used to the extreme altitude, which was hard. But it was all volunteers, so there were a great bunch of people. Wonderful, wonderful people. I don't know what else I can say.
What was it about the 10th Mountain that made you know that you wanted to be in that unit, in that division?
Mountains, skiing, and all volunteer.
Tell me a little bit about what you remember from D-Series.
COLD. Very, very cold. It was several weeks, or was it more than that? I've forgotten. It was to test our mettle, and it was very, very well tested. That's where we slept out at 52 degrees below zero.
When you were sleeping out and it was 52 below zero, how did you psychologically prepare yourself for that?
We didn't. We just endured it.
When the going was very tough, what was it that kept you going?
Pride.
So during that time when it was very, very cold, you just thought, I can't quit?
Exactly. Yep.
Did it cross your mind that it would be nice to quit?
Nope. Never did.
Tell me about during training, what were they training you? Did they give you a specialization? Something that you were going to be?
Rock climbing, cold weather, and skiing. Rock climbing was very, very important. We were an assault group, basically. Riva Ridge was typical of that, taking on a very difficult project and completing it.
Did you have a sense during that period that what you're doing was going to be really special, really unique?
I didn't at that time, no. It was a job.
Did you have a sense during training that you were going to be asked to do something that was going to be very difficult?
Yes.
And what were you thinking about that?
That's hard to answer. I just figured it was the Army. This is what I was told to do.
You didn't know any better.
Didn't know any better.
When you think about D-Series, were you on the red team or the blue team?
I honestly have forgotten.
Well, let's put it this way. Were you ambushing people or were they ambushing you?
They were ambushing us.
You were on the blue team.
Okay.
Tell me what you can remember about being ambushed.
I really can't recall that much. I'm sorry.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about what your training within your F company, what was your specific role? You were a staff sergeant.
Squad leader,
You were a squad leader.
as was these great friends of mine, Pete Seibert, who was the Vale guy. He was a squad leader. We were very, very, very close. I miss him terribly. And there was another young man who was with me and was wounded the same day I was. Roy Simic, S-I-M-E-K, who was a remarkable man. Gosh, I don't know what more to tell you.
Well, let's think about the time leading up to when F Company had to climb Riva Ridge.
Uh-huh.
Okay. When you were getting ready to climb Riva Ridge, did you have a sense that everything was all ready for you? You were ready to go?
We had a lot of self-confidence in our ability to climb almost anything. And I think that sounds braggadocio, but I think it's true. We had a great deal of self-confidence. That's why I don't think we ever gave a foot to anybody, including the Germans.
Did it ever occur to you that you wouldn't succeed?
Never, never.
Tell me a little bit about your preparations before you climbed up Riva Ridge. How about the day before? Do you remember the day before?
Yes.
What do you remember?
We looked at it from down below and we couldn't believe it. But we thought, we're being asked to do it and we're going to do it. Our company commander was a remarkable man, a fellow by the name of Percy Rideout, who was later governor of Massachusetts. And he instilled in us a lot of confidence. He was my earliest hero, because I was young. I don't know what to add to that.
When you got to the base of Riva Ridge, tell me if you could find the path. Could you find the path?
That was difficult, but we found it.
How
And
did you find it?
I can't recall, but the Germans were totally, completely surprised when we came up to the top.
Tell me how you could tell the Germans were surprised.
They looked at us as if we were from a different world.
And then what did they do?
They very quickly laid down their arms after we convinced them it was a good idea.
So right away some Germans surrendered to you.
What, sorry?
Right away some Germans surrendered to you.
Why did they?
No, right away.
Oh, yes.
Right away.
Yes, right away. And we sent them down with members of our unit down below where they were incarcerated as prisoners of war. That's the only time I think I might have killed somebody. We had a firefight at the top of Riva Ridge because they suddenly realized that we were not part of their unit, and they were quite upset. So we did what we had to do.
Now you were on route number 5. It was the route farthest over up Mount Mancinello.
Yes.
When you got up there, when you say they were quite surprised, they didn't give up right away, did they?
No.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Just remember, that was a long, long time ago, and my memory is sort of hazardous in that respect. We were just very glad to be there at the top without too many casualties.
Once you got up there, how long did you stay on top of Riva Ridge?
A couple of days. And it was cold up there too. We did that in the middle of February, as I recall. Then we were allowed to come down, and other units came up and took our place.
When you were on top of Riva Ridge, could you look over at Mount Belvedere and see the action unfold on Mount
Yes.
Belvedere?
Yes.
Tell me what you saw.
We saw, through binoculars, we saw units moving up the face of Mount Belvedere, and we kept getting radio messages, walkie-talkie things, saying how well they were doing. Gee whiz. I'm trying to remember, but I can't.
Did you have a sense that it was going well?
Yes, yes.
Did you have a sense that it was very difficult?
Yes.
Okay. How about if we talk a little bit about what happened next to you after the whole Mount Belvedere, Riva Ridge massif was secured? What was the next big bit of action for you guys? I assume it's going to be in March, early March.
Yes.
Do you remember any of it?
No.
Okay. Well, it would have been outside of Melanjorny Bridge, all around that Punchboard Hill.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of that?
No.
No, Punchboard Hill. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about over at Torre Iussi.
That I can remember. We were told that it was going to be, that we were going to run into a lot of German resistance. And we started out that morning with a pretty good frame of mind, because we had never been defeated before, or even challenged basically before. And then we got into the slope going down to Torre Iussi, and all of a sudden, tremendous machine gun fire broke out, and I got a bullet through my left arm, and somebody gave me a bandage, and I put it on, and then they said, "So many people are wounded down here, we've got to get the medics down here. Somebody's got to go back up the mountain to get them and tell them where we are." So I volunteered. That's why I got this. And I went up and got them and brought them back. And finally the medics said, "This man has got to go back to the hospital." That's the end of the story.
When you were approaching Torre Iussi, how many people in your squad were lost?
Several. And I can't spot them for you. It was a bad day.
Could you tell what was going on around you? A lot of casualties around you besides your squad?
Yes.
What could you see?
Well, the morning the morning that we took off, I had been given a brand new replacement. And I said, you stick by me all the way down the hill and into the attack, right beside me or behind me. And we went down and we got near the edge of a building, and I felt this slump against my arm, and I turned around, and this brand new replacement had gotten a bullet right through here. And he was very, very, very dead. And he leaned against me, and that's what sort of woke me up. He didn't last more than 8 hours in combat. And I have often wondered, and it's been sort of a tortured thought, I didn't even know his name. I couldn't write to his family. That was bad.
Torre Iussi was some very fierce fighting.
Yes.
What was the purpose of your advance as you advanced towards Torre Iussi? Can you tell me a little bit more about what your objective was in particular?
It was to get up to we were supposed to get up towards the Po Valley. That was we were moving this way toward the Po Valley. And after that day, I was in the hospital for a month, so I can't tell you.
When you approached Torre Iussi, did you know that it was how exposed you would be, or did you have a sense that nothing was there? Did you have a sense of security as you moved forward?
Yes. Yes, we did. We thought we're just going to go up and take the town. And then all of a sudden, there was machine gun fire, and I was hit. And I remember somebody put a bandage on my arm, and then somebody said, you've got to go back and get medics. And I started running across a field, and I looked down, and there were puffs of dirt around my feet, machine gun bullets from the enemy. And I finally got away from that and got back up the hill and told the medics where everybody was and directed them back there. And that's why I got this thing here.
Tell me a little bit about the situation where Pete Seibert was wounded.
Oh boy. I can't recall exactly where we were, but I remember I went down and I tried to put his face back together again. It was a mess. It was a terrible, terrible mess. He was hit here and it came down through his nose. His nose was spread out across his face, and his lip was hanging down because it's gone through his jaw. It was shrapnel. And he was a real mess. And I tried to put bandages on him. And finally we got some medics to come up and take care of him.
Tell me a little bit about Pete in general on a good day. What was Pete like?
He was the most beautiful skier I have ever seen. I used to tell my family that he looked like glass, oil coming down a glass plate. He was so smooth, just tremendously smooth. He was a Schneider instructor when he was 15 years old. Fantastic guy. I miss him.
What was it about Pete that you think made him a success later in life?
His total dedication to the art of skiing. And when he took over Vail, a lot of people said, it's a dead town. What are you going to do with that? He said, I'm going to make it into a mecca for skiing. And he did.
What do you credit Pete's visionary
He wanted to build a ski town, and he loved skiing like nobody I've ever known before. And he built a ski town. Vale is quite a place. I can't tell you any more than that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the time that you spent up on the border in Yugoslavia. Can you remember what your mission was up on the Yugoslavian border?
It was to set up a deterrent force there because they didn't know what was going to happen in Yugoslavia, whether they would attack us or not. So it was a very nervous time for us all. We didn't want to take on the Yugoslavs. See, this is where my memory is.
You got a great memory. Can you remember doing patrols up on the Yugoslavian
Yes,
border?
yes.
Tell me what you remember.
Nothing bad ever happened to us. We would go out on reconnaissance patrols, and we spent quite a bit of time doing that. But nothing untoward happened to us. That was back after I got out of the hospital.
Did you ever see the soldiers from either Tito or the partisans or the fascists or the nationalists? I understood there were quite a few factions up there.
Yes, there were. Yes, there were. We saw them in the distance. We never saw them close up. It was a very quiet time. Just the way I liked it at that point.
Did you have a sense that it was pretty fluid, that it could change?
Yes, yes. But it didn't. And I think we were a good reason that it didn't change. We were quite a force there.
Did you sometimes wonder who the enemy or the opposing sides were, in the sense that there were so many factions?
Yes, yes, we often wondered. But we had a good unit, and we didn't worry about things like that. I'm not making much sense, am I?
Oh, no, this is exactly what I wanted to know. When you were out there, did you have a sense that perhaps the enemy or whoever you were opposing might be blending into the local population, like opposing you at night and by day they would blend in?
Yes.
What was your observation on that?
It was a very fluid time, and we were concerned about what would happen if we ever came together. And since we never did, the problem solved itself.
Did you realize now or earlier that was actually the beginning of the Cold War?
No, we never realized that. We thought this was going to be the end of wars for a long time. Hitler was gone, you know.
But in reality, you were part of the very early stages of the Cold War.
That's right. That's right. Yes, we were. I'm not helping you, am I?
No, you are. No, this is I'm just giving you lots of chances to jump in here. In some ways, the type of confrontation along that border with Yugoslavia is similar to some of today's conflicts, in that by day they would blend in with the population, at night they would be your opposing force.
Yes.
Does it seem like there's a parallel there?
Probably, yes. Yeah, I think so.
And that was different than what you had been facing all the way up.
That's right. That's right.
So how was it different up along the border with Tito?
We had just been very successful in our attempts to get there. So we were feeling pretty confident that we would prevail if something happened. It was the 10th Mountain was quite a unit. I don't know what else I can say.
Well, how did how did being part of the 10th Mountain Division shape who you became later in life?
It enabled me to feel that I could do almost anything worthwhile and do it well. And that's the overall feeling I had.
Did you have a sense that you were doing something that was vital to national security?
Yes, after the 10th Mountain, I was asked to join this Counterintelligence Corps, the CIC, and I got a commission in that and served for several years as a citizen soldier. And guess who my sergeant was? A fellow by the name of Sergeant Henry Kissinger.
Wow.
Who was without doubt the most brilliant man I have ever known. Fantastic. But that's beside the 10th Mountain.
Wow. Well, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. He was a graduate student at Harvard, I think, at that time, and very, very, very bright. Remarkable.
What sort of legacy do you think the 10th Mountain Division leaves?
Victory, and an all-volunteer unit is very important, I think. That's me speaking now. If you have all volunteers, you have a willing group, willing to learn, willing to adapt, willing to fight, and almost certain to win. I can't tell you any more than that.
How do you think the 10th Mountain Division has shaped history?
Well, they're one of two units that are called First Strike in the United States Armed Forces. The 82nd Airborne and the 10th Mountain Division. That tells you a lot.
Do you think the current 10th Mountain Division that is active today in Iraq and Afghanistan has some similar qualities of spirit?
I hope so. Oh boy, I hope so. I wonder if they're still all volunteer. Do you know? Are they? That does it.
How would you define the spirit of the 10th Mountain Division?
Always prevailing. Always. Against almost any odds. They're really remarkable. When you get a unit that's all volunteer, nobody can ever say, I was drafted into this. No, you weren't. You volunteered. Very, very important. I don't know what I can add to that.
Why do you think people felt so strongly about volunteering?
I really don't know.
Why did you feel so strongly about volunteering?
Because it was the right thing to do. My father had volunteered, my mother had volunteered. Both had remarkable lives. I don't know.
Did you have a sense that the 10th Mountain Division would have a special place in history?
Yes. Always.
And what is that place?
Quality. Quality and perseverance. What more can I say?
I'll think of something. Think back to your training. Is there anything memorable that really jumps out that you wish later on you'll say, darn it, I wish I'd said this or this? Think back to training.
No.
Pretty much covered that. How about in battle?
I don't think so. I really don't. I was surrounded by a remarkable bunch of people. Really, you have no idea. Yes, you do. You know some of them. They were very special.
What do you think made them so special?
Volunteerism.
Mm-hmm.
That means a lot. You can never complain about why you were there. Never.
Can you think of anything else that you'd like to add?
I think the 10th Mountain will be long remembered. That's all I can say.
All right. That was very good.